That's the one thing that I feel was positive about the COVID experience is that we did get to be more virtual so that we know that we can have these conversations. These can
Mhm.
be normalized. You can go over to your beautiful grand piano and be playing over there and then come back and say, "Oh, hello, Dennis. How are you?" And
Yes, my pearly whites, not ivory keys. I know. I agree with you 100%. I think that we were way behind on our technology, way
yeah,
behind on our capabilities. And when we were forced into a new way of thinking and a reality, it served us.
yes.
It served us well. It still serves us. I don't like where corporate is going with all of this belief that people aren't working when clearly their businesses are making money. So I don't understand how that equates, but they're also doing that through the federal government too. Oh,
Yes.
just all this waste because you people are working from home. And it's just not true. I
It's
have
not. The
led teams.
productivity is
Oh
way up. Oh,
gosh.
let me stop you here for a second. I want to introduce you, Renee Patterson. This is Renee Patterson, my new friend, that we are both producers, we are writers, we are creators, and here we are, and we're having another reasonably spontaneous conversation. Now, continue with what you were talking about, because technology, I mean, we're talking about how AI is coming in.
Hmm.
We're talking about how the work is there is so much. There's never been a time in history where we have more productivity. And yet,
Yeah.
and I am a capitalist,
Hmm.
I, but I believe that we can have a bottom line that has more colors than red and black.
Hmm.
We need to have, I believe in stakeholder capitalism, whereas the entity, the business, has a a stake in the community. So
Hmm.
it needs to serve the community. It serves the workers. The workers are their stakeholders. It isn't
Right.
just the shareholders who have it. And that's not a popular opinion.
No, it isn't, and it doesn't work in corporate either. I used to do this work. I I did virtual teams. I put in place virtual types of mechanisms to create a productivity that was higher than expected when
Yes.
they were in the seats in brick and mortar. But also when I would do these process improvement plans, and sometimes people think that just because they are the manager of the department that they're the stakeholder, and actually you are not. You're not the person who does the day-to-day work on this. Who's the handoff going to? You are in your office doing what managers do, which is an important position,
Yes.
but your business community or your business area of that you're managing may be the stakeholder, but the people you invite to the meetings, the people sit at the table, the
Yes.
people who know how the sausage is made, they're the ones that are the real people that you need to be speaking with in order to move this forward, which is why we talk about the way we say things today, like mom and pop businesses or community businesses. That was just a business back in the day, right? It was just people who lived next door to you, had a store on the corner, and they just did the job of whatever the community needs. Now, of course, things have changed. Things move in a different direction when you start introducing things like technology, which is huge for us, going
Yes.
from the 70s to 2025. Come on, my whole computer is in my hand. Before we just were scared to work on a computer. Before, what's an email? All of that. And it wasn't taken seriously when it was initially introduced, but now that we rely on it day to day and person to person. I mean, my 1-year-old grandchild knows how to work an iPad. She's
Yes.
one. So this is not something that is adjacent to what we're
Yes.
living. This has to be enveloped into the whole thing. I think that communities, I, I love Apple. I worked for Apple for a while. I love Apple. When they created an Apple store, that was a place where not only can you go buy something that, of course, people want. That's why they're in business and they have been successful. But you could go play. This is a new playground,
Yes.
and you could see your neighbors wanting to go play. They invited people to come in and just break it. They didn't care. They just wanted people to adopt. what it is they're selling.
Yeah.
There's no need, no lack of need for any of these things, but a lot of it is what you want.
Yes.
And that was kind of a way to bring your community into a place where they normally don't reside, like to just kind of go to Best Buy, whatever, hang out there, but to a place that this company says, look, this is what we have. I mean, it was such a great um, model that Microsoft did it. But these are our new community places. These are ways people reimagined how we got
Exactly.
together. And I think we should do more of that. And businesses should do more of putting, or big businesses should do more of putting in, investing in local communities, investing in local employment of
Exactly.
people, whether it's virtual or not. And you could be virtual and still have a job in the same city.
Well,
It don't have
exactly.
to
But
be a brick and mortar.
you went from corporate, going into the corporate world, and you've gone into the entrepreneurial world to
Mhm.
be able to make this movement. Well, you want to talk about that journey and how you, because you're an entrepreneur now, you are doing video, you're doing podcasting, you're doing other work that is virtual. So talk about that transition.
I think it's the same principle. This is the changing time. And if you want to be successful, and what does success look like for you? It always changes, right?
Yes.
It starts off at something when you're 10 and it turns
Mhm.
into something else when you're 60. You know, it's just a different type of reinvention of yourself based on what's happening with society.
So how are you
That's
reinventing yourself? So talk about this in your own
well, and
your
from
personal
my
terms.
personal journey was that I became ill and had to stop working for the man, the corporate world. I had to figure out what was going to be my life, and it was because I was disabled. I had to stop working because I couldn't function anymore physically,
Mhm.
and of course, my job had to let me go because I couldn't do the job. So physically, I had to be traveling more than 70% of the time. Just about, no, not more than, about 70% of the time I had to
Sure,
travel. So I couldn't do that from my place where I
sure.
was trying to
So how did you
recuperate.
emotionally deal with that and making that transition?
Was
Because so
not
many of us,
easy.
it must have been really difficult.
Very, very difficult. I'm the breadwinner. I'm the person who's paying the mortgage is in my name. The things, the cars, the furnishings, everything was me. And then all of a sudden, because I became ill and the things I was dealing with physically, now my home wasn't safe for me anymore, and I had to figure that out. But mentally, the first part of it, the only way that these things started to actually come into place, I had a plan, is because I had to get myself together up here. Nothing happens without the mind, nothing. And I don't care if you're in a wheelchair like I was, or if you are a walking, talking, breathing, a capable human being, it doesn't matter. What happens here between these two ears is what figures out what's going on with the rest of you. And that's not the that's the hardest part, I guess I should say. That's the part that takes the most challenge. That's the part that people are challenging you. That's the part, even when you don't know what to answer, because this is new. And so moving into that, realizing that I couldn't work anymore, and then realizing that I wanted to live, because part of my illness landed me into the hospital quite a few times and a lot of recovery, and then back to square seven instead of, where you thought you made these gains and you didn't, or they've gone for naught. So all of that back and forth, and finally, you know, the coma part is the part that when I came out of that, I just couldn't. I didn't want my life to end, and I didn't want to be alive and be dead. So that was what I saw for myself when I came out of being in the coma and coming back to my reality, which was still escaping me at some points, but I was holding on with both hands, legs, everything. And
Almost like a
I
rebirth. You're having to
yes.
redo this and relearn and come back into it.
Hmm. Absolutely. It's like we're on iPhone 16 now. So I was iPhone 5, okay, when iPhone 16 is now available. I had to make all of those steps to get to that place. I needed to figure out what that strategy would be. Um, and so I think I was living my life tactically versus strategically. And once I had that together and someone helped me move along that journey, which was someone who was more of a, um, uh, I guess a life coach would be the kind. I don't know what the name of what she calls herself. I forgot, but she's type of like a life coach. It has you thinking and relaxing and getting your mind together so that you
Exactly,
can
your
figure
meditative
out.
state, being able to have that type of a holy, because there's a mind body
Hmm.
connection, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And once, one of the things that I dealt with, I think we talked about this with my aunt, that I start and stop projects all the time. And I was feeling bad about myself as a person on
Of
top of trying to
course.
get to, through this whole,
I mean, you're a high
who am I now?
performer. You're a high performer. You've done all this, and then suddenly now you're having to start all over again.
Hmm.
It's like when an
Absolutely.
athlete undergoes a major injury and she has
Yeah,
to then say, okay, well, that part of my athletic career is over. I'm going to have to figure out something else.
right. So what now?
Yeah.
And where is the blueprint for that? So once she helped me think it through, and she just kind of summed me up by saying, so what you're saying is you need a new process. I said, exactly. And then that's when everything turned. I went and got an LLC. I just said, I'm going for it. I'm going to do the things that make me happy because I will put the energy into it. And they were also, because I'm also a person that needs to see other people happy. That's part of my life journey.
Of
I
course.
knew that whatever I was going to do needed to have that element in there. So I wasn't just doing what makes me happy for just because I just wanted to be happy. It also needs to fit into my overall narrative of who I am, which is I love people, I love conversations, I love politics, I love the communication that ends up could be a debate, not an argument. I don't like insults. There's things that I know who I am at this point, and I can lean into that. Right?
Hmm.
I can count on me, and I have to make sure that I'm okay so that I can count on me. So yes, I have a psychiatrist. Yes, I have a therapist. Yes, I have plans that I may never completely get to, but there are plans,
You
and
bet.
I need to respect that. And by respecting that, I'm respecting myself. I think that what I'm doing now is respectful to my my ancestors, my family, the way they raised me, the person they want me to be. I think I care for others, which is important to do. I don't care for others because I was told that. I care for others because I was taught that by behavior. And that's something that I want to emulate. And I have tried to do that. One of the good things about not being bound by corporate America is that I don't have to go by your rules. If you don't like the way I've written something, not don't worry about it. Just move past it and move to the next thing. I don't need the judgment, and I don't have to stay around for it. So
No,
I can turn on my heels and walk away. Lots of judgment, lots of no's. That's fine. I think that one of the great things about being this age is that they just don't matter the same way it used to.
I'm not quite as sensitive. I love that. I love that you're talking about that a no doesn't mean the same thing. I don't have to take that as personally as I did when I was younger.
Hmm. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Did you
what
want to
does
hear
it
about
look like today? So let's look at what's in your windshield and how and what you're doing and what are the interesting things, because I know that you're writing a book series and you're
Mhm.
writing a book series with your aunt, the
Yeah.
amazing Dr. Dawn. D. Bennett Alexander, that we got an opportunity to do a wonderful podcast about the series that you're doing. But
Yeah.
you're also continuing that. So tell me, let's
Mhm.
look at how these are manifesting in your life right now.
So I've got quite a few irons in the fire as it relates to Quilted Hearts. Um, that is our name of our company, our business for as part of Quilted Hearts Chats, which is the podcast you're talking about. Quilted Hearts Books, which is our series, the Quilt Journeys Mystery Series,
Mhm.
which is we're in our fourth book, all of it available on Amazon, and our website, which is quiltedhearts.world. And so that area is allowing us to lean into the purpose of our books, which was to introduce ourselves, other people to the world, stories to the world that people need to hear,
Yes.
how they're connected to how we're connected to each other, stories that people need to be
Mm.
have in their orbit so that they can be get permission to see other people and see what they're about and talk to other people, have
Yes.
to ask stupid questions. I mean, ask me what my hair feels like. I don't care as long as we're talking. That's what matters to me. You're curious. I want to satisfy your curiosity. I have
Oh,
questions too. And so,
absolutely.
let's just work with that. And I think that um, it's hard to get away from who you are as a person if you're doing things that don't not line up with who you are in your professional life. Just the dichotomy of that and how having to weigh that bear that weight of having to live two different ways in a
Mhm.
same day is hard. It's difficult for people. And I'm saying we don't have to make it harder for people. We don't have to be hard on each other. We
Yeah,
can just learn each other. And, it's harder to make someone hate people who love the people they were supposed to hate. It's
absolutely.
very
We're
difficult.
so
So,
much more alike than we are different.
absolutely.
This is the whole process of it, because we may have different exteriors, we may be wrinkled, or we may have different levels of melanin in that, but you get one level past that skin, and we're
Mhm.
identical.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Your family has the same issues. You're looking to make sure you guys keep the lights on. You want to make sure you have housing. You want to make sure your kids can go do something fun as well as something with what they're supposed to do. You want to develop their minds and you need to have some kind of community support to do that because you want your kids to grow with the community, not against it, right?
Yes.
And that's what we're endeavoring to do. So we are reclaiming the words DEI or the letters DEI, meaning diversity, equity, inclusion. We are
Yes.
reclaiming that within our chats. I
Yes.
am definitely going after, I want my word back, woke. I want it back because woke means the
I do
greatest thing.
too.
Yes, it is about being aware of what's happening. And if you're not, you can find out how to become more aware. That's what that's the place we should be living in 2025. And then inclusion, what's wrong with that? You want to be on a baseball team, you have to do the tryouts and all that to be on a
Yep.
team. Everybody wants to be on a team. Include me, don't exclude me unless I don't meet the
You'll have
criteria, but not.
you have a better team. Look at the
Yes.
1948 Detroit Pistons and put them against the 2025 Oklahoma City Thunder. You're not going to have that. The diversity of that team, the diversity and inclusion of that team is the higher talent.
Yeah.
Yes, it does require people, men like me, to try harder. It certainly is going to require me to try to work harder and to work on my skills in this. But the entire team is going to get better when we have when we have a greater access to the
Hmm.
talent pool, because there's plenty of talent out there.
Right. And everything is about the practice, right? to use your concept. Your team gets better the more you practice. You may have great people individually, but are you a team?
Are you a team?
Well,
Do they work together? How do they
that's
work
right.
together? And that,
That's why we practice, right? We practice and we practice and then we go to sleep and we practice and some more. We practice. Oh, and by the way, we have practice. That's why it's hard to get people to go against someone, even if they know they're wrong, because they're on their team.
yes,
So that is the key part. But we want to make sure we are saying to each other, we hold ourselves accountable individually and we hold ourselves accountable as a team. And that's what we're here for. So
yes,
if you're doing something against the team, then we have to deal with you. And that's fair because you decided you wanted to be part of this. And that's what we're doing is we're just moving that through the logical steps through if you're doing something against the team. But in this case, what we're talking about is also the country, right? So the team is big. Our team
yes,
is the world. Our team needs to know what it stands for. CRT is a concept. CRT is a concept that you can try and move some arguments into to see if it actually fits, but it's not a prescription. It is
no,
just an understanding. So critical race theory, for those
exactly.
who don't know CRT, is an understanding taught at a university level, which means you're
And
also
higher,
in
yeah,
law
and a
school, right?
postgraduate level, that is where it
Mm-hmm.
is. It isn't the high, but when we sit down, and the thing that bothers me so much is that we're saying that we do not want our children to be uncomfortable with what happened in the past.
Mm-hmm. And what's
And
happening now, right?
I can understand why they might say it, but discomfort allows me to look at that and to see what happened.
Mm-hmm.
This is an important process. I mean, I look at the right now in the medium out income of the average. The median income of a white family is $240,000. For the median income for a black family is $24,000. Why is there such a discrepancy? Why
Mm-hmm.
can we not look at what redlining, what all the work that went into to do that, to be able to say what are the issues and what are the things that we can do to bring that up? Because if, as John Roberts said when he took out the Voting Rights Act, that racism is over, then
Mm-hmm.
why are these two things not more? Why is it not more equitable?
Yeah, so that's a couple of things. Gosh, racism being over, that would require a lot more soft skill that we don't account for. I mean, we're hoping people get that some kind of place. It doesn't work like that. People are not born racist. And if you're 25 and all you have to say to me or my child is to call them the N word, someone taught you that and you
Exactly.
took that as gospel. And now you are visiting it on me because somehow, some way, my existence is pissing you off. You can't explain it, and you can't explain it to me, but you know that I'm not supposed to be in your orbit. And it doesn't make any sense. That's the reason why these things fall apart in court, because you have to have objective facts, or you can object if you want, but they have to be objective facts that's going to illustrate why the claim is there.
Yeah.
And these things have to be met at a certain level. The laws, the legal system, if you let it, will work.
Yes.
But you have to recognize that what you're feeling is not what you take to court. So you may be outraged at what happened, say, for example, just what's happened this weekend. You may be
Yeah. Right.
outraged that people
So
are out protesting. Okay, you're
which we're
outraged.
out, and this is the first for anyone that's watching this, and whatever has happened, we don't know in the future. But here we are on this happened on the 8th of June, that in Los Angeles, the National Guard was nationalized, and this is what's happening in Los Angeles right there. Continue.
Yes, and those that are there or disagree with there being any protests are not living in the same understanding of our country as the rest of the people.
Right.
But when we go to court, it doesn't matter what you think. What matters is what it aligns with the Constitution. And so if the Constitution says I have a right to protest, whether I am here legally or illegally, because it doesn't discriminate against that. It just means that you are not, as a government or in a government presentation of part of the government, are not supposed to infringe upon my civil rights and liberties to be able to protest against what a government is doing, this government is doing, or a foreign government at that. You know, to try and tell the Palestinian that they are terrorists because of a fraction of their country. Just like I don't want the United States of America to be known as this country that enjoys trafficking and enslaving people. I don't want to be known as that, but the fact is we've done that. And we seem to continue to want to do that. And we have to live with that when we go to other people, other countries, and to present ourselves. I don't, you know, how do we do that? How are we okay with that day to day with each other? And so, you know, if we're not going to live what we're saying we are doing, and we're just going to give lip service and not actually do anything, then it becomes very apparent when those things are challenged that this is just lip service. So, you know, to say to me, you're not going to get rid of Medicaid, that's just lip service. What you're doing, though, shows that all of that is on the table. All of that is what's expected. And we're not going to deal with any real causes or root causes for concerns if you really are concerned about the budget. We're not going to deal with those things. But we've disrupted people's lives. We've disrupted our entire country's outlook on itself and the way other countries look at us. We've empowered other countries to start working together, which we hope that part of what the people have built all this time, right or wrong, but the point is, got us to a place where we want to be respected in the world, on the world stage. And now we've just ruined all that within a matter of 6 months. And the continued verbiage, so that we can get it in our head, is that it's somebody else's fault that we are in this position right now. No, that person never called the National Guard. In fact, you didn't call the National Guard when the insurrection actually did happen in the Capitol.
And when we had that, and this is the whole thing about victimization. And I think that if we look at ourselves as victims, that takes all our power away. It completely takes out, because we otherize, we say, well, my life would be better if something else happened. It's the same thing that happened with you. Here you are, you come out of a coma and all. You can blame the coma. You can blame the challenges that are, but instead you looked inside yourself and said, okay, I'm going to look inside myself. I'm going to see what I can do, how I can grow. That to me, that is empowerment.
You're right. It is very much that. Why some people can do it and others can't, why I couldn't for years, and then finally caught myself doing it. I can't really say what that part of that DNA is of, you know, why one person goes in your fork of the road, you know, road less traveled, or the one that's more traveled. I don't know what decisions go into that for each person. All I'm saying is I hope that people can arrive at that point, or to recognize that you can arrive at that point. Maybe you don't even know it's in you to take care of you. And that maybe, and I think that might be true more than I'm saying as I'm saying it out loud, because I feel like that when I'm talking to my own grown kids and we're talking about what things look like today for them as 30-year-olds and me being in my 60s, what that looks like for their life looks like versus what mine did when I was their age. And it's really very difficult to have planned for this because things have moved so quickly. I think that people who love, seeing things change probably had this in their understanding that things would go this. I don't know that I just knew that it would go this fast. I'm like so completely, trying to catch up all the time.
Yeah.
But I also find that to
Welcome
be
to
a little
today,
empowering.
right?
Right. I find that to be a little empowering as well, because that means I'm staying up to date with things.
Yes.
And so I'm involved, not letting it pass, not letting life pass me by. And
Uh,
that's what I hope most people would take from a bad situation or even something that's good, because everything doesn't last forever, right? So you still always have to keep reinventing
The
yourself with
one
another thing.
constant is change.
Yes. And embracing change means that you can see where you fit into those changes.
Exactly. And how we
That's
most
what,
leverage. Renee, thank you so
right.
much for joining me today. Thank you for your inspiration and thank you
Oh
for our
gosh, yes.
continued getting a chance to know you and your family. I'm working my way right through your family.
I
So I'm
know.
getting a chance to talk with all of you and getting a chance to know
Yeah.
this wonderful family. And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure speaking with you and your wonderful producer, who happens to be named Renee,
To
which is,
Renee's, no waiting. All
yes.
right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thank
Renee.
you.
And thank you, Renee Jaworski, our producer, our director.
Yes.
And thank all of you for watching another episode of A Reasonably Spontaneous Conversation.